Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Sandra Gumansing. Topping our newscast, motorists on St. Thomas bore witness to a display of community activism Wednesday. Members of Charlotte Amalie High School's PTSA, who cry foul against the Education Department's decision to move their principal to Eudora Kean High School, made sure their sentiments were well known. News 2's April Knight has that story.
More than 1 year! More than 1 year! CAHS need Jurgen! CAHS need Jurgen!
These were parents, teachers, and students who took to the streets Wednesday. Their objective was clear: try to keep Principal Jurgen in Charlotte Amalie High School. The school's PTSA mounted the demonstration 1 week after Education Commissioner Sharon McCollum announced that Stafan Jurgen, principal of CAHS, will be moved to Ivanna Eudora Kean High School.
Usually as a first-year principal, you don't transfer someone that's trying to build. Give him another year, another couple of years. Let's sit down to the table, come up with a plan for a successful transfer if he is to be transferred.
Protesters marched from the high school to the Education Department.
Open up the gate! Open up the gate!
They marched onward to the Senate and Government House and the Board of Education, waving signs expressing their feelings about the transfer that they consider politically motivated.
If Eudora Kean had problem, why Ms. McCollum did not stay there?
This parent says Jurgen's record is excellent and directly benefited members of her family.
My son just graduated. I'm so proud of what he accomplished from Adelaide Conquan with Mr. Jurgen as assistant principal, and got here with Mr. Jurgen at Charlotte Amalie. Mr. Jurgen took him under his wing.
In spite of the passionate protests, the power to hire, fire, and transfer ultimately lies with the Education Commissioner, who currently stands firm on her decision. Acting Governor Osbert Potter did say he'll consider all sides of the situation. Reporting for News 2, I'm April Knight.
Commissioner McCollum backed the transfer, and that's according to Superintendent Dion Wells-Hendrington. That was necessary. The commissioner did state in a release that it was a team decision. News 2 will keep you updated. Well, senators have been speaking out after a recent tour of St. Croix's public schools, many of them appalled at the conditions of the schools. Senate President Neville James added his voice to the conversation Tuesday, saying the severity of the damage to the schools is unacceptable, and adding that a comprehensive plan is needed to not just repair the schools they visited, but to fix all VI schools. Senator Kenneth Gittens wasn't surprised by what they found.
Because I visit most of our schools on a regular basis, I was not totally blown away by the conditions of some of the areas that we saw. But I am truly disappointed that our students, faculty, and staff have been subject to learn and work in such deplorable conditions. A lot of the issues are a direct result of poor construction on the front end and poor maintenance plans in place on the back end.
Turn our attention to the crime reports. Police continue to investigate a shooting in Frenchtown that occurred on Sunday, June 21st at roughly 12:31 a.m. Arriving on the scene, officers say they met with a woman who stated that at 12:20 a.m., while making her way towards the Frenchtown Father's Day activities, she heard several gunshots ring out and saw a black male with dreadlocks firing shots in the vicinity. The woman, feeling a burning sensation in her thighs, suddenly realized that she'd been grazed by one of the shots fired. The victim declined medical attention on the scene, saying that she would travel to the Roy Schneider Hospital for treatment in her own vehicle. Also, police say on the morning of June 23rd, slightly after midnight in downtown Frederiksted, in the vicinity of Strand Street, officers met with a victim who stated that he'd left a local bar or restaurant when he was approached by two black males. He said he was pushed to the ground and asked for money. After he told them he had none, they grabbed him and forcibly walked him over to the ATM, where he withdrew $300 and gave it to the two, who then walked away. They are described as both being over 6 feet tall, wearing dark clothing, slim-built, one as bald and clean-shaven, and the other had short locks and clean-shaven. Please call Crime Stoppers or VIPD if you have any information that can assist in the investigation. Well, technical intelligence might not be a term you're familiar with, but it's a field that's become more necessary, especially to guard against cyber attacks. Last week, UVI hosted a cybersecurity forum for local professionals, but it's an area they want to get young students exposed to. News 2's Erica Parsons has the story.
There's not a lot of chatter in the world of cybersecurity. But the work they're doing affects communities, sometimes nations, and even the world, as we've seen recently with major hacks of private companies and the federal government.
In our tracer fire, what we try to do is to put participants in the actual place or role of a cyber defender.
UVI professionals, IT experts, and some local police specialists all took part in a week-long workshop at UVI offered by Sandia National Laboratory.
We give them some tutorial sessions interspersed throughout the week, but then we run our game server and we actually set all the cyber attacks in motion.
This whole initiative is to get more people into the cybersecurity pipeline, called the K-16 pipeline.
The workshop is part of a larger plan to expand the study of technical intelligence training, and the goal is to get students interested in that field in a fun way.
What we're trying to do is to convey some of that challenge and some excitement and inspire some new kids and students to follow this field.
We want students to start getting used to computers and security and math and programming and all the basics for STEM.
UVI is one of 17 historically black colleges and universities partnered with Sandia Labs that's being funded by the National Nuclear Security Administration. For the next 5 years, they'll receive $1.2 million to help push students in the direction of technical intelligence as a career.
This is the whole initiative of the grant, is to get people into the pipeline, all those students who really showed a tremendous propensity for programming and math and abstract thinking, to get them to vector into cybersecurity, which is a field that our nation needs experts in.
Erica Parsons, NEWS2.
Now, that training was held on both UVI campuses via video conferencing. Personnel from the VIPD, Bureau of Information Technology, and the Department of Education all took part. A cyber summer camp for high schoolers is also being held. A local teen who has a rare form of cancer is in Puerto Rico with his mother trying to get the help he needs. Joseph Harris has adenoid cystic sarcoma, and his mother tells NEWS2 he'll be undergoing chemotherapy to try to shrink the tumor before doctors try to operate. Harris was able to get to Puerto Rico thanks to the Charlotte Amalie High School class of 2015, who raised money to help him. The family still needs financial support. People who want to help can donate and send checks to the Community Foundation of the Virgin Islands. You can write to Cancer Fund on the memo line of the check. Those funds go to help all cancer patients in need. Well, the Relay for Life cancer event held by the American Cancer Society was a success, and that's according to a CSVI executive director, Lorraine Baugh, who led the organization of both events on St. Thomas last Saturday and on St. Croix in May. Some 80 teams signed up for the event and helped Relay for Life reach its fundraising goal this year.
Monies are still coming in. We've met our goal. The overall goal was 250 net. So between the St. Thomas and the St. Croix office, we've met our goal. We have about maybe 8 teams that need to bring in their monies. So Relay was definitely a success.
Charlotte Kimmelman, after whom the Cancer Institute on St. Thomas was named, has passed away. Kimmelman was 93. Kimmelman passed away in West Palm Beach, Florida. She and her husband Henry moved to the Virgin Islands 65 years ago and opened the Virgin Isle Hotel in St. Thomas. They also founded the Community Foundation of the Virgin Islands and later the Cancer Institute at Schneider Hospital on St. Thomas. She and her husband were well known in the community as generous, kind-hearted, and community-oriented. Our condolences to Ms. Kimmelman's family and friends. Turning our attention overseas, residents of South Carolina and elsewhere traveled to the State House in Columbia Wednesday to pay tribute to Clementa Pinckney, the state senator and pastor who was killed 1 week ago in the shootings at Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church in Charleston. Pinckney's body will lie in state inside the rotunda of the Capitol building from 1 to 5 p.m. His body was brought to the State House by a horse-drawn casket that took his casket from Levy's Funeral Home to the State House. Keeping our eye on the economy, here's the New York Stock Exchange with our Stock Market Watch. Taking a look at the numbers there, as you can see, everything is down. The Dow 178, NASDAQ down 37, S&P 500 also down at 15. Coming up on News 2, if you look up, you may notice that haze. Dust from the Sahara Desert in Africa. The dust causes skies to be hazy, which reduces visibility and results in poor air quality. The experts say it's more of a mold problem than the dust. Details coming up. The St. Croix Chamber of Commerce held a ribbon-cutting ceremony Tuesday for its newest member, Baked Cafe, located in Kings Alley just off the boardwalk. Local residents and members of the chamber were on hand to provide support and sample some of the baked treats, which are made fresh daily. Owner Alexandra Morris is thankful for all the support the chamber have given to her and her business.
Being a itty-bitty business, really. They've really supported me. They've marketed me. Nice to know that even though I'm doing this by myself, that I have a group behind me. Every morning I bake fresh. I use as many local ingredients as I can. It's either gluten-free or vegan, no refined sugar. I like things to be healthy but really delicious.
Several planned proposals to revitalize Upstreet on St. Thomas will be on display from Thursday through Saturday, and residents are encouraged to vote on the best one. The VI Economic Development Authority says the plans would help improve the Upstreet neighborhood, and they were designed by 3 teams of local planners. The 3 proposals will be on display at the Winston Ramos Center, which is across from Lionel Roberts Stadium. The public can view the plans and then vote for one. EDA officials will be on hand to answer all questions. The American Red Cross of the Virgin Islands will install some smoke detectors and deliver preparedness education this Saturday, June 27, to families from the Charlotte Amalie neighborhoods of Savannah and Solberg, and on July 11th to families in Smith Bay as part of their home fire preparedness campaign. With this nationwide campaign, the American Red Cross seeks to reduce deaths and injuries from home fires by as much as 25% over the next 5 years. Throughout the campaign, the American Red Cross has received support from its volunteers, along with community residents and volunteers, people interested in participating of other installation visits. You can call them 774-0375. The Home Fire Preparedness Campaign launched in St. Croix at the beginning of the current month of June, and as we reported, and already over 150 smoke detectors have been installed in the communities. The Friends of St. Croix Public Library now has an official logo. On Wednesday, the group announced the winner of a contest they held for junior and senior high students to design the organization's signature sign. And the winner, Kiana Torrance, is a rising junior at Educational Complex, and she was also presented with a check.
The Friends of the St. Croix Libraries did not have a logo. We had a computer-generated logo, and we wanted something that was truly unique.
I thought to myself, people don't really go that much to the library. They go more on the internet itself. So I thought, okay, I'll put something here about the internet, a little something. And then I said, some people like me, we actually go to read the books. So I also put in some books.
This is something I've been wanting to do, and I'm so glad we were able to do it. And I'm really, really pleased with the logo that we selected.
And to your health, if you look up, you may notice that haze. Dust from the Sahara Desert in Africa. The dust causes skies to be hazy. It reduces the visibility and results in poor air quality. The experts say it's more of a mold problem than dust, and that's what might be affecting your allergies. From the Sahara Desert in Africa is back in our area. The dust causes the skies to be hazy, which reduces the visibility and results in poor air quality. The experts say it's more of a mold problem than the dust.
It is more molds that we deal with down in the Caribbean than really most places in the country. There are still a few places that have as big of a mold problem as we do, but we are certainly up there.
And that's what might be affecting your allergies.
When the Sahara dust comes over, though, it's filled with mold.
As a result of the dust storms and a rise in warm air, the sand rises above the desert. These particles are transported from the North African desert westward over the Atlantic Ocean across the Caribbean.
The Sahara dust that comes over is actually an irritant and not really an allergen per se. The dust that we usually talk about as an allergen is household dust. It's the skin exfoliation and that sort of thing that has the dust mite in it, which is actually the allergic component.
While this haze may not be an immediate threat, persons with allergies or respiratory ailments should remain indoors when possible.
And the mold is what is really attached to the Sahara dust, so it actually makes our mold problem much worse. And people that inhale it have irritation of the lungs and that sort of thing from the actual dust. And so there is certainly an allergic component, but the dust itself is more of an irritant.
And speaking of the Sahara dust, Bernie has the latest on that and the weather coming up.